Okay, thanks team. Sure, as I said, that's a really comprehensive overview of the project as well as some finer detail on various aspects, all of which are extremely interesting from my perspective. And I have no doubt for the group in the room. So let's open it up. Kate Snedden, I see your hand up, shot up. Please take the floor. Thanks.
Thanks.
Oh, your sound's quite bad, Kate. We're not hearing you very well.
Quick question for Ryan.
Kate, sorry, Kate, we're not hearing you very well. You can either write your email in the chat or unless you can improve the audio.
I'll put it in the chat. It's probably easier.
You were starting to come through well at the end, so perhaps. Let's just get Kate's question. Is there any other question in the meanwhile? No hands. I have a question just in terms of the remote sensing. Did I understand correctly? Because what I know about remote sensing is a bit dangerous. So thank you for your really useful talk and informative. You mentioned that each plant species has a specific signature. So when you do that, do you kind of like get a unique signature, spectral signature for a plant species, and then you ground truth it so you can then identify to what that species is? And does then it become a data resource, or how specifically does that work? Or is it a vegetation type that you get a signature for?
Okay. Thank you for that question, Helen. So specifically in this, for this work, what we'll do is the first part would be to identify the variation in the spectral response from the different vegetation types or vegetation species. And then, like you notice the product that I showed earlier in the presentation, that product would be compared to field measured diversity, your common Shannon-Weiner indices, and then we'll try and compare that diversity to the remote sensing diversity, because that remote sensing diversity only shows us the variation in the spectral response or the variation in the spectrum from the vegetation, but it cannot really tell us the diversity. So it's more of like an indication. So, but for us to really appreciate or to actually put it forward and propose that, no, let's do that, we then have to make sure that we can relate that remote sensing product is linked to the ground or the field-based measures of the diversity. So once we like, for example, for the same work that we're doing, so far we have tried to link that and we've tried to use data to see if that remote sensing product is also coherent with the field measured diversity. And the results are promising, because I think the last time I was working on it, we had an R squared of close to 0.6 or above 0.6. So the results are still promising, because it shows that surely our remote sensing product is related to the field measured diversity.
Right. Wow, such a useful output. I think it's going to be really interesting. I think we've lost Kate. I don't know. I didn't see a question in the chat, but perhaps she'll be able to join us. Could anyone else hear a question? No. Okay. Do we have any other questions? Okay, yeah. Well, I'm going to just take the opportunity. I've got a few more questions, so forgive me for hogging the floor. Mine related to, I mean, most of you know that I've been one of the team members developing the freshwater biodiversity information system for South Africa. And, you know, one of our hopes with FBIS, which is what it's called for short, is that it becomes the sort of the go-to place for biodiversity data. And phase 1 was really focusing on rivers. Phase 2, which has just kicked off, includes wetlands, and it includes, you know, ephemeral pans, you know, seasonal pans like those that you are sampling in this project. So I guess my question is twofold. The first is, have you already embarked on the process of developing your biodiversity database that you're going to obviously be storing all the data that's going to be collected, you know, during the project life cycle? And have you considered piggybacking or linking with existing systems such as FBIS, which already exist? You know, from a water person's perspective, having data, you know, all biodiversity, whether it's from groundwater dependent ecosystems or not, you know, in one system, I would imagine for the likes of Nancy at Sanby and, you know, for IEC and red listing assessments and the NBA, having the data in sort of one place would have a lot of benefits. So I'm not sure who really would like to take that question, perhaps James or anyone else. But it'd be lovely to hear your perspective on that.
I can start. My colleagues will beef me up. So I think we are in the process of structuring the database. We have not yet gone very far, but what we are doing, as was indicated by Tatenda in his presentation, we have what we call the SADC Groundwater Information Portal. So this is a portal where we keep groundwater information from across the region as much as we can keep it updated. So this is work in progress. This portal is work in progress. And by virtue of the fact that we are a regional institution which has easier inroads into the member states in terms of, because of our mandate across the region, it's easier to construct this database around this portal. So we intend to also populate the data coming out of this project into that database as we continue to grow it. Yeah. We are, as much as possible, linking member states to us and us linking to member states. I hope you understand what I mean. We are trying to be the center of excellence for data rather than dispersing our data to localized or countries. Yeah. So we are even providing links from our GIP to member states so that one can access a member state's database from our portal and so forth. So it's work in progress for sure, but that's the plan at the moment. I hope I've tried to answer your question. Thank you.
Yes, no, that's fine. I mean, I understand the regional focus of the project. You know, it's beyond a country border, which is, I think, what's really exciting about this project. But it would be nice just, you know, from our perspective to keep chatting to see how the data can be maybe, you know, linked through APIs so that, you know, we don't lose that information. And it can be, I guess, a two-way street, really. Yes. But yeah, very, very exciting project, very interesting. Kate, I see you pop back. Oh, Tim, let's take a question from you quickly.
Well, less of a question, more of a comment to say that Karteza was involved in building the SADC GIP website as well. So you've got a backdoor technical contact through us if you're wanting to pull data off there. And it's lovely to see all the data that's arriving on the platform.
Thanks, that's great. Thanks. Because obviously the I just know colleagues such as Nancy and Betsy Milne who've done so much work in the the Northern Cape area, and Betsy's a branchiopod specialist. it would be lovely to, to be able to bring the data, obviously once you've published and everything, but once it's freely available, into the FBIS system so that we facilitate, we extend the reach of the data so that it doesn't become sort of, obviously assuming that there's general consensus and agreement around data sharing, but it would just be something to bear in mind going forward. So thank you. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, James. Okay, James, did you want to say something else, or
no? I just wanted to acknowledge Tim. We are working together, obviously, on the SADC GIP, and I'm glad he's around and he sees our next work area to provide more data into the GIP. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. And it's lovely also just to be in the seminar and get the bigger context of all the activities that you're doing. Really impressive. Good work, everybody.
Thanks.
That's great. Jeremy?
Thanks, Helen. And thanks all the presenters. Really awesome session today. We heard a lot about the biodiversity surveys and about the links between biodiversity and hydroperiod and groundwater. Fascinating for someone who's mostly focused on rivers. So the presenter spoke a little bit about like where the data are going to end up, and I guess this is a little bit of a follow-on or a segue from the previous point from Helen. But I guess I'm quite interested in, who is actually, at the end of the day, making the management and conservation decisions for these ecosystems? And is there a plan in this project to make sure that the important data in the right format reach those decision makers? Or is that not a core focus of this project?
I suppose Helen is still in, but I can start to address your question, Jeremy. Thank you. So this project, as we highlighted, SADC GMI is a subsidiary of SADC. We have got different institutional arrangements that link us to the respective governments of Botswana and South Africa in terms of the management level. So our idea is to, beyond the science, we come up with a management tool that identifies the challenges, what are the remedies and action items that will be required to enhance the management of the wetlands and conserve or whatever measures for the wetlands. So the management is one premised on the national government structures. We are linked with the government departments, initially the Department of Water in South Africa and in Botswana, and we are also linked to the communities that reside in this place. So the action plans that come out of this project will be implemented at local level. And the SADC GMI, we are also a going concern. We are not a project, and we also deliberately have a mandate to initiate projects or initiatives that support the communities to improve the management of these geographic areas and conserve the biodiversity so that it does not go one route, as was highlighted in the previous presentation. So that is the idea. We will end up with a joint, we called it in one area, joint strategic action plan, which is an action plan identifying specific actions that need to be implemented locally with the support of the national government structures to conserve and to stop the degradation of these very important resources. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so if I may follow up on what James has highlighted, and also to try and answer some of Jeremy's question. Yeah, so regarding like the data, especially like from the freshwater component, yeah. So it's been in sort of like an internal discussion between ourselves and SADC, and like James has highlighted that they have the SADC GIP platform where they load all their groundwater, and then as on our own, we also have been discussing on how, because I know about the FBIS. I've been on the website. I follow the website just to see like stuff that is coming on. And I know like you recently started the one that is focusing on wetlands. So it's been a discussion between myself and Farai and Ryan to try and see if at a later stage, all the data that we'll get, we upload on both platforms so that it's readily available, because we know other people working in freshwater, they might not know about the SADC GIP platform, because that one, I think it would be like mostly people from groundwater that will know more about that platform. So in the end, when we then decide, because I think one of the reasons why currently we're sticking with the GIP platform, I think it was highlighted during the review process by JRS that we need to develop our own platform. And I think SADC, since they had a platform, they said they were all the data was going to go through that platform. Yeah.
Thanks so much for that. Great to hear that you've already played around on FBIS. I see your project as, generating such valuable information, as all of you have alluded to, in an area that we know so little about. So very, encouraged to hear that you're already thinking along the lines of sharing it, beyond the GDI. But I do understand that that's obviously got to be the main repository for it. So thanks so much for that. Sarah, happy to take your question now. Just maybe say where.
Hi.
Sorry, just
Hi.
say your affiliation for those who haven't met you before.
Hi, I'm talking to you from outside SADC. I'm talking from Nairobi. So thank you very much for the very good presentations. And I just wanted to understand how you actually get all the institutions to share data, because many people that are familiar with, and even in a project that we have been involved with, it's usually a problem when it comes to institutions sharing data. So I wanted to understand whether you have any framework, or is it just taken for granted that because these institutions are in SADC, they share the data willingly, or do you have an MOU, or what is there that will oblige all these different institutions involved, or where you need to get data from to share data on the desirable platforms? Thank you.
Sorry, thank you, Ciro, for that question. So SADC has a protocol on shared water courses, and one of the provisions in that protocol is data sharing across the member states. So this SADC, as you know, is obviously a REC where the member states have signed to, and through the SADC GMI, for example, we are a subsidiary of SADC, and it means we are actually falling under the water division of SADC, and we implement the projects that promote the regional agenda. So member states would then, in general, subscribe to the regional vision of trying to implement the shared protocol, the protocol on shared water courses, and other such protocols for promotion of regional development. So what happened to this SADC GIP is a project was implemented to support the different countries to collect data on the geology of the countries, the hydrogeology, the borehole depths, water quality, and so on and so on. That was in 2010. So it has not generally been updated as frequently. I think you can imagine how difficult it is in many cases to update. But we are now working on trying to make this data time sensitive through a program that we are continuing to implement. Being a subsidiary of SADC, we normally, I wouldn't say have it easy, but it's relatively easier to work with the member states because they subscribe to the establishment of SADC GMI in this mandate to promote regional development. It's not smooth sailing. I think we always have challenges here and there, but once we have the data, the member states understand that we are using for development of the region. It's working all right so far, and we hope it will continue. Thank you. I hope I've answered you sufficiently. Thank you.
Thank you. That was well answered.
Great. Excellent. Any more questions? I did just ask in the chat, is there a link to does the portal exist already? And it would be quite nice to maybe just see the link for...
Yes, I'll share it quickly.
Wonderful. For those who are interested, because we also have the chat obviously gets saved as a text file for these sessions.
There you go, it's in the chat now.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Any other questions from the group? Okay, no one raising hands, but okay, I think we're heading towards 1 o'clock. So would anyone from the team like to make any last comments or observations? I've thoroughly enjoyed the session today, learned a lot, and I'm super excited to see the project moving forward. Tatenda, I see your hands up.
Yes, just one last point. I think Jeremy highlighted how are we going to ensure that the data gets to the respective people. All right. So within the project, there's someone who's working on community engagement. So what they are doing, it's Batanai and Tobozani. So what they are doing, they are engaging all the different farmers and different organizations that are working on conservation, and the department, the Northwest department that works on water, so that we bring them for the workshops that will be conducting throughout the project period. So that is how we're going to ensure that the data that we collect, it reaches the people that play a role in the protection and management of these systems.
Great, thanks for that. And have you got partners from the Botswana side? I've done quite a lot of work in the Delta, but not in that arid part of the region.
Yes, currently we're working with the Department of Water in Botswana. So they are really excited that for us to come at that side and sample. And then they've already given us letters of permission, allowing us to come and sample. And then we're supposed to be going there soon. A colleague went there for field reconnaissance surveys, and then he managed to identify some interesting systems that we'll be able to work on. So we'll be able to, soon we'll be taking students to Botswana so that they can sample both areas.
Fantastic. That sounds great. Excellent. Okay. Any last questions before we end the session? Okay, I think not. So, James, Kudzai, Tatendo, and Chad, thank you so much for giving us your time and such a wonderful overview of your project. It's really been great, and I look forward to following the progress as things progress. So it's great to have you on the session and on the group, and now you've all been added to our hit list. So when we have the next sessions, you'll all be given the notification. Do you have any last comments, James, just from your side?
Not too many, Helen, but just to say thank you for the opportunity to share our experiences. I suppose it is always when you get a platform like this, you actually reflect and say, oh, okay, did I think about that before? So I think it's very good. I believe this is obviously to get us to have a product that will benefit more people in this sector where it's supposed to benefit. So thank you so much for this opportunity, I believe. And we look forward to the next time where we'll share with you the findings wherever we'll have been after a while. So thank you so much. And of course, to my team, thank you so much for making it as exciting. We look forward that next time when we do the next presentation, we'll be able to also cover the hydrogeology component, which is the groundwater side of it, as well as the community side of things that was not a part of this presentation today. As you know, we'll be moving from the science and moving towards the implementation. How are we going to implement what we will have developed? So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Perfect. So just before I end off, James and colleagues were essentially the last of the group of the JRS grantees for the seminar series that we've been going now since April. I think what we're going to do is to kind of, the team's going to regroup at the FRC. Through the seminar series so far, we've come up with a number of ideas and interesting topics for further discussion. So we're going to take a break for a month, but then during that month, we're going to be putting together kind of a summary of the points that have been raised, where we can organize special sessions discussing certain components. We don't want to lose the momentum that we've gained as a community of like-minded people. I think we've learned a lot through the series from each other, and there's a lot more to be learned. So we'll probably send out that list of potential topics for discussion to the group, and then invite people to offer to maybe lead certain sessions. Perhaps we'll rope in Tim to lead a session on interoperability of systems or creating synergies between projects. Anyway, all of this will be up for discussion, but I just want to mention to everyone who's in the room now, and I'll obviously send an email out as well, just saying, we're going to take a month's breather. We're going to then reconvene with some focused topics for discussion, guided by the observations made through the 4 months that we've been going thus far. But thanks again to the session today, and again for everyone who's been attending, and we'll be in touch by email and obviously distribute recordings of the sessions. If I can just ask also the presenters, if you wouldn't mind sharing PDFs of your slide presentations, it would be fantastic for us to have access to that when we share it with our colleagues. So thanks again, everyone. A great session, and stay safe, keep well, and we'll see you with the next session after the emails communications. Great stuff.